Welcome to Geopolitical Horizon. So this week is the UN high-level meetings week in New York as the world is facing a myriad of geopolitical and strategic issues. The question is the world going to be able to deal with the global stress test we are now facing? That remains to be seen. First of all, last night, President Xi presented that China will no longer invest in coal-powered projects in its One Belt, One Road strategy. President Biden following up, saying that the U.S. is going to double its financing of climate projects worldwide. The question is, though, because President Biden said the U.S. will use its aid structure in dealing with, global climate issues. The question is, will the U.S. using its aid structure be able to solve and deal with these climate issues worldwide? Not necessarily, because what is important to remember is the world needs more infrastructure. A lot of countries and regions around the world do not have enough infrastructure. People live in large parts of the world in extreme poverty. I've seen it myself traveling on the ground across Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. This is important to remember. Therefore, China's One Belt, One Road strategy and infrastructure investments around the world is very important. However, when China now will stop funding climate-powered projects, China will also be working to increase investments in green technology and climate projects around the world. However, we still need infrastructure development across Asia, across Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. That is very important. In addition to strengthening investments in manufacturing capacity, industrial capacity, energy projects, particularly large parts of the world really lack energy and access to energy. So this is critical. Therefore, the world is going to face a major moment as we're going to have to increase investments in infrastructure development around the world and in industrial capacity and energy capacity, while at the same time, we need to change in a climate-driven direction. However, to be able to deal with that, we need sophisticated industrial capacity, and China has that. That is what the US is lacking today. Therefore, by using its aid structure, particularly USAID and other aid organizations in the US establishment, I'm not sure if that is necessarily going to be able to, really solve the global challenges the world is facing in terms of the climate issues now we're talking about. That's one major issue facing the world, the climate issue. The second currently is the corona pandemic, which continues to rage around the world. In Africa, only about 3% of Africa's population, now around 1.3 billion, has had, vaccination. That's a major issue. So we're going to have probably more cycles of lockdowns across Africa, even in the coming potentially years. That's going to affect supply chains, that's going to affect logistics corridors, economic development, and continue to create political challenges in a range of countries. We're also seeing that across Asia, and it's going to continue to affect the world also in the coming years. So the world has not been able to collaborate and coordinate and communicate in an effective manner to solve the global corona pandemic. We're now soon going to finish the second year with the corona pandemic worldwide, entering the third year from March next year, February next year. So it's just going to continue on, I think, for quite some time. Even though some countries are opening up, we're still going to be dealing with the corona pandemic for quite some time. The third issue, as I mentioned earlier, is the world is now facing still a large, challenging issue of poverty in large areas of the world. That is a very, very challenging issue because it's driving political conflicts, internal conflicts, security threats. It's driving regional and internal wars and creating a myriad of refugee and migration issues. We're going to see more refugee crises in the coming years, and that's going to be a major challenge as it creates new conflicts in countries, between countries, and among different groups of people. That's going to be a major challenge. So the world has not yet been able to deal with the strategic issues of our time, being poverty, being the global climate challenge, and also currently the major pandemic we are facing. This is driving the geopolitical issues of our time. In addition, the US, China, dynamics we're seeing continuing and unfolding is a major issue. The US has been very confrontational towards China in its approach, and that is creating a geopolitical stress test in the US-China relationship with ripple effects and reverberations around the world as other countries have to deal with this challenging bilateral relationship. So unless the US and China are able to tone down the conflict atmosphere in their relationship, this is just probably going to continuing and becoming a more challenging stress test geopolitically for the world today. UN Secretary General Guterres also reflected on this recently in his remarks at the UN, and this is a very important issue. So going forward, the world has to deal with climate issues, we have to deal with pandemic issues, we also have to deal with how the world can eradicate poverty and thereby being able to, really promote the UN's goals of sustainability going forward. But it's really critical to deal with poverty, and the only way to do that is to strengthen infrastructure capacity within countries so that people can get jobs, can see economic opportunities, start developing business, and find employment opportunities within the countries they live, so they don't flee their countries, so they don't become refugees and migrate to other countries. Because the migration waves and the refugee waves you are seeing, that's just going to increase from Africa and from Asia and from the Middle East and from Central and South America if we're not able to deal with these issues of strengthening infrastructure, strengthening investments in industrial development, and really creating a new wave of job opportunities driven by economic development around the world. So that is critical going forward. Well, these are just a range of reflections, about what the UN High-Level Week now is facing in terms of the issues that we have to deal with in the world today. Well, thank you so much for joining, and please remember to subscribe to Geopolitical Horizon, and I look forward to see you again. Thank you.